So I'm Myrna Melgar. I'm the supervisor for District 7, which is about half of Ocean Avenue on the northern side. We are here to support the OAA and the merchants with anything they'd like to see in the community supporting safety. And to just flesh out any ideas or strategies that folks want us to fund, support, roll out to make sure that people get what they need from both our police department and our city in terms of safety.
My name is Al Casciato. I'm a retired San Francisco police captain. And in retirement, I have found that the CBDs needed some assistance. So I've been assisting the CBDs throughout the city, helping them navigate what the police can and cannot do. I sometimes feel like I'm the translator for what the public thinks the police can do, what they cannot do, and what they can do when they think they can't do it. So I've been in this role for about 7 years now, and it's very, very satisfying because I can see the progress and what the CBDs are doing and how I'm very, very pleased with the concept of the CBDs and what they've been able to accomplish, especially in the clean and safe areas.
Oh, good morning, everybody. I'm Officer Drewkai Butler. I'm the local footbeat here assigned to Ocean Avenue. And I've been in the role for about 5.5 years out here. Been with the force for almost 8 years now, and footbeat has been most of my time that I've spent. So I've got the chance to get to meet a lot of the community members out here on Ocean Avenue, and I just really enjoy being a part of this community and doing what I can to help serve our people of San Francisco. We've got an amazing city, a great city, and I couldn't imagine doing this role anywhere else. So just always glad to be here, be a part of the community, field questions, and give some answers where I can. So thanks everyone for being here, and glad to be a part of this panel.
Thank you, thank you. So we're going to open it up to discussion. I was hoping you guys could give a quick discussion on current state of affairs, maybe some safety tips that merchants in the community can use, and some preventive measures. And after that, we can open up the floor to a Q&A discussion after. So maybe Officer Butler, if you could talk a little bit about the updates, what's going on with crime here, how's it looking, what we can do.
Okay. I'll start sort of with an overall. Overall, at least San Francisco-wide and even Taraval-wide, crime is trending downwards, which is always something we're appreciative of. In terms of staffing level, we're still having the same amount of calls for service, but we're doing it with almost about half the amount of officers that we used to have a few years ago. So that does put a bit of a strain on the resources and cause some things to take a little longer in terms of our response time, and have to prioritize threats to life or great bodily harm over some of the what I call cold reports, where we have to take a report about something that is no longer happening. Maybe some of these did steal a bicycle. We still get there, but we take much longer than we want to get there for the residents. But the good news is crime is trending down. So it's the overall attitude in the city, and just the support that I think we get as officers has helped with that. And just and I don't know, it's great to see crime trending downwards. But we still do have crime. And trending down doesn't mean there's no crime, but we still do have crime. And we're doing our best to respond as quickly as we can with the officers that we have. And fortunately, decisions that our leadership in the city have put together to provide funding for officers to come and work early before their shift starts or stay late to help augment the staff has really been crucial in helping us to be able to have enough officers to respond to call for service. Because without the ability to have the extra officers stay or come in early on their days off to augment, it'd be a real tough job. So it's taken a lot of different areas of support that have helped us carry out this task. On the Ocean area, Ocean's a pretty cool community. It does a lot of taking care of its own, even though we still do have crime. We still have shoplifting that occurs. but a lot of the major stuff that was really plaguing us in droves with the smash and grab and just clearing out shelves, we've seen that decrease quite a bit. And whenever I get the opportunity to be out on foot and not have to answer calls, I enjoy standing in Walgreens, being a greeter, saying hi to everybody coming in, just sharing a smile, but wishing them a great shopping experience. And it seems to help reduce crime as well. So definitely being out in the community seems to help reduce crime. We've had a few assaults on Ocean Avenue, and by assaults, I don't mean people being beaten up, but somebody got upset with someone and spit on them, and somebody else threw a bag of chips at somebody else, and somebody else pushes the security guard to leave the store or feel they're being followed. So we've had that type of crime happen. But fortunately, we haven't had too many heinous things in the area. We had one unfortunate burglary at the Ave, but I must say they did work with us, and with their security company, they were able to provide us some really great video footage of the suspects, even though they were masked up, and a vehicle as well. So we do have that, and I have to say, in my experience, over time, we are able to associate these criminals usually with other acts that they've committed throughout the city and the Bay Area. And so these video footages are really useful for us. So that would probably be one of the things I would definitely encourage all the merchants and homeowners to consider installing in their place of business. Surveillance cameras, they really do help down the road. Sometimes they do act as a deterrent, and sometimes if they don't deter, they do act as very crucial evidence to tying people to organized activity that we're able to help put together some operations, and sometimes with the help of other local law enforcement, we're able to make some good arrests and get some good prosecution. So definitely on the security camera front, that's a great thing to have. And I'd like to always encourage store owners and homeowners to have that as well, because it might not be your business that is affected, but you might capture the footage of people who went to a business next door or a home next door. So it can be very useful.
Okay.
Dovetailing onto that, I think one of the things that we have to think about in the CBD world is CBDs were designed and created to clean and safe. And I know you have your statistics about how much garbage is picked up, how many graffiti paintouts occur. All that leads to a better neighborhood, and it leads to a safer neighborhood, because in police work, we have what's called the broken window theory. If you break one window and nobody does anything about it, then another window gets broken, and then another, and the depression of the neighborhood occurs. And so that's what so if you think about what the ambassadors are doing, the ambassadors are out in the morning early, painting out the graffiti. They're picking up the garbage. One of the programs that I'm working on right now with the CBDs is right now we use big trucks, diesel powered trucks, power washers, the power wash loops, neighborhoods. But a lot of smaller vehicles like they have in Europe, service utility vehicles, are illegal in the state of California. They're illegal to use, even though they're clean and safe vehicles. They could, instead of blocking the bicycle lane or the lane of traffic with a big diesel power wash truck, we could have the smaller ones go right up on the sidewalk and power wash there. When we're picking up the garbage, we could go along the sidewalk and pick up the garbage. South of Market picked up 1 million tons of garbage last year. That is in addition to DPW and to what the scavenger companies picked up from the cans. So that type of work is also what cleans the neighborhood. It cleans, not only the population that wants to be on the street, which we have to address separately, but it keeps the neighborhood clean. And a neighborhood that's clean, it's easy to see activity that doesn't, or activity that's criminal activity. People that are acting in a strange way, or they stand out more. And you can act on it. So for the police, they can act on it. For the neighborhood, they can act on it. One of the things that we've been talking about here is, how do we put eyes and ears on the street? And Do we have a coordinator within OAA? To have a coordinator, create, I just say Ray Favetti is on the board, but he's also a neighbor. He could be eyes and ears where we get one specific point of contact in OAA, and that point of contact then can work with the police department, something comes in, or it goes to the Board of Supervisors, or it goes to DPW, or it goes to public health. So we're trying to make it efficient, but also that the community is totally involved. And I think that when you, and I'm gonna let the supervisor speak to it, but when we form these community business districts, or we form, and I know there's some issues at the police commission right now to assist the neighborhoods that they're trying to get together and put them together. But when we form these, the Board of Supervisors forms them in a way that they're empowering us. And it's our duty, if we're being empowered, to do it. They facilitate that we can do something, but we have to really take what they have empowered us to do. And that's how I envision it. And I know that when I talk to the directors of the CBDs, and I was with one yesterday, we were touring Polk Street, and it's not what the police are doing, it's what we are doing to create the neighborhood that the police can police in an appropriate community policing mode. And the community policing mode is just as what Officer Butler said, greeting people, talking to people, because when something really bad happens, people will talk to the officer they know. They will come up and they will say, let's say you have a homicide. It's horrible. And all these thoughts go through you. And you're trying, but if the police don't have a relationship with the neighborhood, it's going to be hard to find what it is. But I remember, I'll take one experience out of my history. There was a homicide out in the Hunters Point area. We were all around. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, and there was a homicide. No clues as to what happened. The guy is dead. He's been shot. The police were on the perimeter. We got to play traffic. Right afterwards, one of the officers comes up and he goes, "Hey, Captain, such and such did it." "Oh, okay, thank you. We'll wait for the inspectors and we will discuss this away from here." What happened was this officer had great community contact. So while he was directing traffic, a guy from the street walked by and whispered into his ear who did it. That started the whole ball rolling. But that wouldn't have occurred if the officer didn't have a good reputation and a good relationship with the community people. And it's not a buddy-buddy relationship. It's a respect relationship. And that's what I think is really, really important in building up with the police department. But it's also the personal relationships we all have. Whether, as we walk down the street, do we acknowledge each other? Do we know each other? Are we comfortable calling each other? Are we comfortable saying, "Hey, I saw something that didn't look right"? You don't want to be accusatory. You want to say, did this look right? Is this something we were going to visit? Is this we see somebody who they don't seem right? Can we touch base with them? Can we talk with them? And people will do that. They will respond to you. And if you figure out how to approach them, and it's how you approach the people on the street. And that's what the officers do, is they try to figure out how to approach people. They get to know the guy who is walks down the street talking to himself. Well, you join his conversation. you know, and you do, you join, you know, how are you? Oh, yeah. And one of the last stories I will share is on my last weekend in the department, I volunteered to be what's called a weekend captain. Because I wanted to go by the stations and just say goodbye, I'm retired, you know? And as I did that, I was driving through the Mission, and there used to be the old library book drop off. And a lady waved me down and said, there's a guy laying there. And he was laying on the cross, and they were gonna open it. She was upset that somebody was laying there and people wouldn't be able to come and drop off books and so forth. So I drove up, I was in a black and white. I got out of the car, put on my hat, and I walked up, and I could see he's laying there, and he had all types of Marine Corps gadgets. So I walked up, I stood at attention, and I said, Marine, can I help you? It took him about 3 minutes to be able to get to his feet. He got to his feet and he saluted me and he said, Captain, I'm in a real bad place. So I said, can I take you out to Fort Miley? Which was against all the rules. Technically, I was supposed to call an ambulance at $800 a minute and, you know, come out from San Francisco General. They would have taken him to the psych eval or whatever. So I said, I'm going to take you to Fort Miley. I got his stuff. We put it in the trunk of the car. I put him in the back seat. I drove him out to Fort Miley. And at Fort Miley, they have a reception area where you turn somebody in. And I got out of it and I walked in and I said, there was 2 sailors. And I said, I have a Marine who needs some assistance. And I said, he's in real bad shape. And they said, we'll help him. Says, we'll give him a shower first. And so I got him out. And from there, I left him, no paperwork. But I hope he got in good hands. I think he got in good hands. And then I drove to the car wash and had the car disinfected. And then I went and took a shower. But that's, you know, but that went against, my point there is that went against all the rules. I wasn't supposed to take him to Fort Miley. I was supposed to go through a system that wouldn't help him. And so that was a frustration, but I could do it because it was my last weekend.
Kindness is the first step.
Pardon me?
Kindness is the first step.
Yeah.
Supervisor Melgar, any comments on the prayers?
Yeah, I mean, I have plenty, but I will just say, for starters, thank you, Al, for those great stories. And thank you, Officer Butler, for always being there for the community. So I see Officer Butler everywhere in the Taraval precinct geography, not just on Ocean Avenue. I think you have a couple clones because I see you on West Portal, I see you on Irving, I see you everywhere on Taraval. And obviously the power of community policing is amazing. That knowledge of people, knowledge of like who's on the street, what the patterns are, what time Taha opens up and puts out the vegetables, all these things are, you know, part of what we do to keep each other safe, and we need more.
Yeah, definitely.
So we used to have 2 officers on Ocean Avenue. We used to have 2 on West Portal, and now we just have you. So I do think that for the past few years at the board, the issue hasn't been budget because we have been able to add money for the department and for overtime. Overtime is not sustainable because these human bodies that we have, if you're working, you know, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, after a while you break down and it has a cost on your family. So we need to get back to full staffing for the police department. And I think that that's also something that we can all help with. The department has a plan for recruitment, and the emphasis is on hiring people from here who already know the community, and women as well. So if you have a niece, a nephew, somebody who is looking for a career, the police department is a good place to work.
Most
We
definitely.
pay good benefits, pension, bonus.
Yeah.
All of these things. And so if you have anyone who is in your family who's perhaps interested or studying criminal justice at City College or San Francisco State, this is a really good place to explore. And over the last few years, this police department has been at the forefront nationally of all kinds of good things, and so we're very proud to support in that effort. But the other thing that we have done, and I wanted to talk to you all specifically about, is that a couple of years ago, we put money in the budget for ambassadors. And it was a deal with the OAA that you guys had the clean ambassadors, as opposed to the retired ambassadors, like they have on West Portal, or the OC ambassadors on Irving, which are more concentrated on safety. So perhaps we could revisit that and maybe do both, so that is something that is up to the community. That is something that, we will, help you with if that's what you want. The other thing that's a possibility is the flock cameras, which
Great.
the Flock is a company that the SFPD has contracted with that has cameras that have license plate readers, and they are for combating retail theft. And what's so good about that system is that it's Bay Area wide.
Yeah.
So we rolled that out on Irving in 9th first. We're rolling it out on West Portal, and then also on top of the Portola, where the Molly Stone's Mall is. We're putting them there. I would love to also put them on Ocean Avenue. And what's good about that system is if somebody breaks into the Ave, and, we get their license plate, that car will be followed to Oakland, to Richmond, to Hayward, to San Mateo, wherever it goes. And then we have this collaboration with other agencies where we can make sure that, the entire system works together. And that's particularly effective with people who have, like retail theft rings. Which is often what happens at Walgreens, right? People who coordinate and they go to the ones that, they target. And so that is also a possibility, and would love to work with the OAA on that as well. And then the last thing I will say is that I'm eager also to coordinate with and leverage the law enforcement efforts of City College. So we had an incident at City College last week, you may have read about, and that was handled by their own police force, but they also patrol, the area around Ocean, Frida Kahlo, where the Whole Foods is, and so it is really important that we have that coordination. Sometimes they tend to be on their own, but that collaboration, especially now, is really important. And so the OAA is coming up for renewal next year. It'll come to the Board of Supervisors. We want to strengthen it and make sure that it succeeds. But also if there are other things besides, cleaning or things that you want included and expanded in your scope of work, right now is the time for the community to weigh in on those things. And Jen Lowe from my office is here. And she was also with Supervisor Norman Yee before she was with me. So she knows everything and everyone. But, we like to geek out over all the details in legislation. So if neighbors or merchants want particular things in there, we would be happy to cooperate and make it happen as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much. That was such a great discussion. We're gonna open the floor up for questions and answers now. I have some sort of questions I want to ask the attendees first. If you guys would like to ask something, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ellen Chen. I'm a resident. I'm not a business owner. Up the street from 7-Eleven. And we've been there since 2009. I moved there before my son was born, and was born, and he's 15, he now walks down Ocean Avenue, every day to go to school at Lick. And, you know, it's really interesting, because we have friends who live in other parts of District 7, and, you know, they go to Ocean Avenue a lot of times to visit businesses there. They don't necessarily come to Ocean Avenue. I love Ocean Avenue because there's racial diversity and there's economic diversity that I think the city has to hold on to and honor. But there is a perception that it's not safe, right? And I mean, like a kid got mugged right over here, walking with his headphone, you know, he had his earphones in, but like, this is all within the last year. And so the question, you know, I have is, and I also want to say that Ocean Avenue has improved so much over the last few years. I'm just having the tower painted, and then the flowers, the cleanup, the different, you know, businesses, less boarded up windows. It's great. I feel like this room probably needs to be more diverse to get, you know, the different voices of folks who run businesses up and down this corridor. But the safety, I think, is an issue, and I love the physical improvements, like you were saying, because it makes people feel like they can walk down here. The lights help a lot when it gets darker, you know, for people to feel like they can be out here. So the question I have is the safety ambassadors, what do they do? And then is that a choice that the community has to make between a safety ambassador and a, you know, cleanup or beautification ambassador?
So I will just say, so the safety ambassadors on West Portal are retired police officers who are trained, and they wear the official vest. And you know, if they see something and they need an actual officer, they have immediate access, right? So that they've been really effective at that. And because everybody knows them, you know, it's a little bit like the community policing principle, right? Everybody, and they know the patterns and that. So what happened a couple of years ago when we rolled out the ambassadors is we had a pot of money. And we asked, like, what do you want to do with it, right? And so, you know, it's not, you know, like, yes, you have a choice, and we will work with the community with whatever the community wants. It's not like there's a vote or there's not a formal process by which this happens, but, you know, let's keep the conversation going. I will do my best. This year, we're in a budget deficit, so we're in a very different place than we were, but it was 3 years ago, right, Jen, that we funded this? It was 3 years ago, so, and we've been able to keep it, you know, in the budget, but, you know, to get something new will be a little more difficult, but it's not impossible, because you know, I'm pretty good at finagling it, so I will try my best if that's what the community wants, and it sounds like it is. The cameras and the technology which we are now able to use after the voters passed Prop E is great, you know, so the department now uses drones, cameras, and all sorts of technology that they weren't able to use before, and now they can. And that is actually more cost effective, because like one of those flock cameras costs about $3,000 versus, you know, the time for a retired police officer is, you know, police officer wages, even though they're retired, and it's more expensive. But, you know, we can also do a combination of both, and hours, we can work it out. But I agree with you that just sort of the foundation of success for a commercial corridor is that feeling of safety and community. I do also agree that it's gotten much better. So we moved here in 2011, and, you know, it's been a change. And I know folks like the Harrises and the Freddies who've been here for much longer know that, you know, in the 90s, Ocean Avenue was much more blighted, and there was a lot more mess. And so I think the OAA has done a really wonderful job, and we can also get better. Yeah.
Thank you, Ellen, for your comments and your question.
Hi, Tony. I've been a resident for 70+ years now, so a long time. Hillside Terraces Homeowners Association. My question is, are you getting the same collaboration with the police from San Francisco State or with the Office of Park Patrol? Some of them have a lot of activity.
Yeah, with San Francisco State, if they come across something, we're usually notified. Or if we come across something and we're not sure if it's in our jurisdiction or theirs, we definitely speak with them. But we're on pretty good terms with them in terms of collaboration. And in that area, I mean, Stonestown is out there, Park Merced is out there, San Francisco State is out there. A lot of activities, where be they criminal or in the world of policing, they kind of bleed over the three different areas and jurisdiction. And we also have the new person involved in security there who's collaborated with us and has invited us over to Park Merced to speak with the residents. We had a coffee with the cop, and Captain Hu was there, and he spoke for probably a good 45 minutes with about 30 to 40 residents who did come to that to hear what's going on with the police and Park Merced and how we're dealing with that area. We have meetings coming up with Stonestown as well, and just putting together plans that we have for increased security. Again, due to budget funding that's been approved, we're able to have officers come in on their days off and add additional security to the Stonestown area. They and Walgreens are our #1 calls for service in the Taraval. So fortunately, we're able to get these extra funds to help get extra people. But getting more officers is really going to be crucial to helping improve our presence being there and our ability to respond faster. When we have more officers, we're able to have more officers actually just out on patrol in the areas. So when we do get a call, we already have a car sector already in that area instead of somebody out at Lincoln and Gray Highway who has to come from Lincoln and Gray Highway to the call that came out on Ocean Avenue. That's a 15-minute drive on a good day. So getting more officers is very crucial, but there's a lot to getting more officers out on our street. It's not just telling people to apply. We need about 1,000 people to apply to be able to find 50 people to put into a classroom. That's a lot of bodies to have to go through. And then of that, there'll be an attrition rate. So we won't get a full 50 officers back out onto the street, but we'll usually get a little more than half of them out there. So it takes a lot. And the good news is we're starting to get those classes full again in our academy. So it seems like there's been a lot of sentiment change just throughout all of San Francisco. And people are getting the message that no, police really are appreciated here and the communities are asking for them. And there's different initiatives to have police officers involved in the community. I'm part of the recruiting as well. If anybody has questions about joining the police department, I'm more than happy to speak with anyone about opportunities to serve our amazing city. It's a great city to serve. I love our city. We've got this amazing city.
A holistic office.
So I'm more than happy to speak with anyone about why you can serve in our city. And we need all these diverse backgrounds. It makes because we have this amazing city with all these diverse peoples. And it was just mentioned, we have this economic diversity and racial diversity on Ocean Avenue. I mean, Ocean Avenue, what I love about it is it really is just this huge mix-up of all these different backgrounds, all these different financial levels, all these different ethnic backgrounds, and it just works. It works. We've got this great city. So for those who do want to apply or have thought about it and wondered how can you serve our city, there's so many different avenues you can serve. Not everybody loves being out in the community, but we need people who work with computers. We need people who work with data. We need people who work with horses. We need people who work with children. We need people who have financial backgrounds, whatever the background is, tech backgrounds, teaching background. We have accountants who've joined our force. We don't have an age restriction. As long as you're still physically able to walk and move and carry out some of the basic requirements, we really could use people for their service in our great city. So,
and we need drone pilots.
We need drone pilots. Great technology that's coming out and it's very useful and helpful. So,
associations with the city.
Yeah.
To get those funds.
Yeah, they're very useful.
Cerritos is going to be a big cut there, just down. It's already marked on the sign.
Uh-huh.
All of your GPS will tell you to turn there.
That's-
So that's,
We may be able to do something about that,
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So, just to add
Yeah.
to what Officer Butler said, the importance of relationships to your question. Captain Yick, who used to be at Ingleside, is now the captain at San Francisco State. And we all know each other. We all have each other's cell phone numbers. So, the folks at Park Merced went through a couple of tough years.
Yeah.
I think things are turning a corner. But again, that, those relationships, and with San Francisco State, I will give the best example. Last summer, we had a rash of youth violence at Stonestown. There was a couple of incidents that went viral. And working with the management there, the security office, the Stonestown, the manager, the Captain Hu, Officer Butler, and the school district in San Francisco State, we were able to come up with a plan right away that just interrupted that violence,
really
right?
did.
But it was because we all, talked to each other very quickly,
Yeah.
and were able to have that relationship of trust that we would sit down and, roll out a plan, and it worked.
Yeah.
But that's having an officer who knows everybody and everything too is so important, because you can connect those dots. And it's really important also that all the folks involved in the OAA, the merchants and the residents, do the same, like have those relationships and talk to each other. So I'm grateful to our NERT captain here for Ingleside Terraces, who also knows everything and everybody, because it is really important that we all have each other's back when it comes to safety and security.
And just to follow up on that a little bit, Captain Yig at San Francisco State, his job, I've talked to him twice a week. His job is to rewrite all the MOUs for this between the state and the city and the the federal government. So he's putting together the protocols to institutionalize relationships,
Mhm.
which is an important thing there. City College has been through a mix and a flux. The department at one time, there was pressure to get rid of it. It used to be almost like it was a sworn police department, and it had the same status as SFPD. Then we went through a period where they took away the status, they took away the weapons, then they took away, and then now they're trying to build up. So probably with the City College, it's going to go through an evolution, and we're going to need some help, and they're going to need some help going through that evolution. And it's something that I'd like to see, and I think as a community, we would all like to see that interaction, that to model it after State College, what SF State is doing. So, hopefully, yes.
I'm Sabina Khalifer. I'm the community liaison of the OAA, the latest member. And so I have, just distributing the flyers up and down. There is a really nice recognition of Officer Butler. Favorite bird. What I realize is that if this is a different approach, because it definitely means less vacancies, but also if a new business owner starts, they are excited about get that license, get the funding. But I personally think a lot of the times the security of the building itself is something that they might not think about initially. And then it's so heartbroken when they get broken into, and then there's a huge cost. So is there any way that there could be some startup funding or some grant with, vandalize them, or also with the arming, because that is a big cost for a startup business, but that will also deter break-ins to have to approach it that way.
That's a really great idea. Did you get that? Yeah.
Actually, I'll jump in because the supervisor, because she doesn't know this, because this discussion took place at the police commission last night.
Oh.
It's similar. So I'm sure that her office and Commissioner Walker and maybe Commissioner Benedicto and Cindy Elias, and Larry Yee, who are interested in those things and they're kind of focused on it. They're actually, I believe they're agendizing this item in October, early October. So that might be something that, it was just, I mean, the thinking process is there. Because the concept is that security, when you open a business, security is basically a grudge buy. Because it's
It's not the fun stuff.
right, it's not the, and it's not income. It's not income.
Well, but it is when you lose it, right?
And you lose it. Yeah, it's an outflow.
You know, it's $5,000.
Yeah, so that, another aspect that you might not know what's going on is, Christian Martin, he's not here today, but he has a family issue, but, he developed the G app. And the G app is a tracking device where the ambassadors, we can see where the ambassadors are cleaning up. We can measure, they touched this street or they didn't touch this street, where we need to go. This is being used in Fisherman's Wharf. The security patrol is using it so that they can see where they've been patrolling throughout the night and what they're doing. And this app is now being linked to 311. Okay, what we're trying to do in the background right now is to work with Christian and the 311 setup. And what the police commissioners are going to be looking at is how do we link this to the 911 system so that there's that direct line. Like the police ambassadors in West Portal, they have a police radio. So if they see something, they're on the radio. The other ambassadors do not have that. And let's see if we can do that. It might require a separate channel. So at Department of Emergency Management, but if it comes through the radio, it's a way faster response, more documented response, and it goes like that. So that's kind of stuff that we're working on in the background.
Thank you for your question, Donna. Thank you as well. Does anybody else have another question? I think we have time for a couple more.
So I'd like to kind of.
Go ahead, Ray.
As a board member, I'm a big, Supervisor Myrna and Al Casciato and Officer Butler for taking the time out to come and educate us on what's going on in the realm of security for Ocean Avenue. You know, specifically, Supervisor Melgar, thank you for your commitment to, the district and your hands-on approach with that, and that you're a good resource for us to be able to accomplish some of the things that we want to do in the security realm. And Al, thank you for your years of experience, not only in the CBD, but also in the CBDs, but also specifically in the police department. So they have a very broad experience on security. Al's put in a lot of time over the years supporting the city of San Francisco. So Officer Butler, you are the epitome of this. In my experience, you represent San Francisco Police Department at its finest.
Yeah.
And all the other officers, quite frankly, have the same type of energy and interest and desire and love of San Francisco that Officer Butler has. And we're very blessed to be able to have a police department which is professional, well-trained, and respectful and attentive to the citizens of San Francisco. So thank you very much. And yes, you can have a lot of things on your plate. The other thing I want to kind of suggest is that the ambassador program on West Portal is good. I think we're going to probably explore and see if we can entertain some of the things that help you out with things that because you got things all over the place. So if we can help you with some more eyes and ears,
that'd be great.
We can do that. So thanks a lot for being here.
Very well.
Yeah.
I'll have the point to introduce myself. I'm Gabriel, the Deputy Director at OAA. And Ray and I were actually talking before this meeting about the idea of a functioning safety committee within OAA. Where we meet regularly once a month. And I actually want to make a point that today we will do that. And OAA will take the lead in setting that up. And anyone interested in joining that as our eyes and ears, please leave your contact information today. And or other people who may want to join. And if we could get your commitment, the three of you, to help us set this up in terms of what Ray and I talked about was having one point of contact within OAA that can then have kind of a fast track to DPW or to SFPD or to Supervisor Melgar's office to report these things. Maybe that's a good way we can start. So we kind of have the different folks in the community that share their information with someone from OAA. And OAA then relays that information to the right sources internally.
Yes, I'd like to understand what Al Casciato's role is in the safety committee, and
well-
what the support, what the commitment is in terms of the funding
Yeah.
or my office's responsibility for this, yeah.
You want to go first?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. I'm employed by the CBD, so I have little contracts with them, and, it's, so I'm here to help, kind of, thing.
Mhm. But you're an
so-
expert, so I
Yeah, so-
trust you and.
Thank you. And what we were talking about is when you have eyes and ears in the community and a way to communicate to a central location. For example, the Latino Task Force is operating on Mission Street at 4810 Mission. And they have a big, they got a big office space, they got a control room, and a lady named Alma runs it. What they do is they're getting information from a variety of issues of the programs that they're running. And everything comes to Alma. And she communicates, whether it's with the Board of Supervisors or whether it's DPW or MTA or whatever. She's a central hub. And William Cartagena, who is the CEO down there, he's also on the Small Business Commission. He serves as the backup for all of that. And what we were talking about is, when you're talking about eyes and ears in the community, is if you're walking down the street and you're a member of the OAA Eyes and Ears, Safety Committee, and you see something, you can then call the OAA directly. You have a number, or you have a text line, or you have an email, and if it's important, you can call right away. If it's not important, or it's something that can wait, you can text them or dial or email them when you get home. But you want to just incorporate it into your daily activity. So it's not another task that you have. It's like we incorporate your son into this. He's walking every day to Lick. He probably knows the neighborhood better than anybody else. And he sees either changes or whatever, incorporate him into it. And it's just his eyes and ears. And you make it a family thing. Oh, it's not just your dinner time discussion. And you talk with your neighbors. And but you have to keep it positive. Because if you look at a crime, when something occurs, crime today gets 10,000 more percentages of notoriety than they did 30 years ago because of the internet, because of the various news things and blogs and Nextdoor and Facebook and all this stuff. So it gets all this, but what I envision for OAA would be have a good central, as Gabe said, it's central contact who has that connection with all the different entities that would affect that. And that person, whoever that person is in the future, that person's gonna become very astute in city government. You know, and
So, do you want to mention the safety class that the OAA is hosting?
Yes,
Little
yeah.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, and I think that understanding the Board of Supervisors, what they can do, and it's very important that in these cycles, in budgeting cycles or planning cycles or, you know, that you have a good discussion because you might not be able to revisit it for 2 years. But if you have an idea, it's getting the ideas and fleshing them out. It's not getting an idea and saying, okay, supervisor, can I have this? It's working with the office to determine what is feasible and what is not feasible. And you think about grants, the ability to write grants. The federal government has grants. Can you, look at it? We're kind of celebrating in the CBD industry that one of our partners, because we do some stuff outside of San Francisco, South San Francisco last night, their housing authority got a $3,300,000 grant. First time ever. They're going to be able to upgrade from gas systems to electrical systems to solar systems to cameras. A whole thing, and probably property management too. They got a 97% rating with HUD. This is fantastic. And crime in that area has plummeted. And the same camera companies that are working with us here in San Francisco are working with them there in South San Francisco. So this is a Bay Area thing. This is going to be, it's going to be, the nation is changing. And
So to that point, District 7 is the only district in all of San Francisco that does participatory budgeting. And we have a pot of money that we put out to the community every spring. It's an up to $50,000 grant for stuff that the community needs. And in the past, we've been able to work together. I don't think we got an OAA request this year. So that is something to keep in mind for the board. If there are specific needs, especially technology and beautification, we usually fund resilience, beautification, anything that, makes the community better. And it is a democratic process, like we have a committee of residents who looks at what's feasible, what's not feasible, and then you have to get a minimum of 400 votes, which is actually kind of fun because you can talk to your neighbors about your idea and what you want to see. So we usually put that out in February, and the works get done around June, July. And so that's something else to think about in terms of, the grants and what we need. We're the only district that does it because it's a lot of work, but it's great because it involves the community in seeing, making the West Side better. So
it gets people to know each other.
Yeah.
and work together.
Work together.
Yeah, this is something we've been talking about. We have people interested in a safety committee on our board. So if you're interested in more information before you leave, come see Rosenda, leave your name, and we'll follow up with you shortly. To Sabine's point, we have been having a wellness program here hosted at OAA every Saturday. It's been going on since August 20th, and we offer self-defense classes, one of those classes at 10 a.m. by Larry Dorsey, who is on our board of directors and is formerly a teacher at Korean Martial Arts Center. So that's been something that we've offered, and sadly we had to take a break from that because Arts Band is coming in to take over the office.
Art show.
Yeah.
27, 5 to 7, 28th is Saturday from 11 to 5.
Yeah.
Sunday from 11 to 5, 10 plus artists.
many who are right here in the neighborhood.
Yay.
Nice.
Yes, in fact, one of our artists is right now, is exhibiting at City College. So it's gonna be very, and all are welcome, and it's just good to just, and we're gonna have a table for kids.
Yeah, nice.
So they're gonna be covering, pumpkins and that's, not real pumpkins. Just paper pumpkins.
But if anyone's interested, our last session, and we would like to restart this next year, it's gonna be 10 a.m. on Saturday, and it's all ages, we had all ages come to this class, so I highly recommend coming by. And a couple of interesting safety tips.
Well, I think we have time for one small question here, and this is just for anybody in the panel. I know we went over some safety practices already, but what are other successful practices from nearby neighborhoods that we can implement here on Ocean Avenue that we might not be doing right now regarding safety and preventive measures?
On Ocean or perhaps nearby Ocean, if blocks come together once a quarter, once every 6 months, just to know each other as neighbors on the blocks, that's really useful for everyone. I just was at a block meeting. It was a safety preparedness meeting on San Benito. And it was just 1 block long, and they just put invites to several blocks around that area. NERC was there, Red Cross was there, and it was just one way out of many different ways that you can get your neighbors to just at least see each other and realize that each other live on this block or near each other. And these are the people that you should expect to see around this area. And these are the people that you can look out for. This particular focus was for disaster preparedness, just because if something major does happen, we live in an earthquake zone, of course, but if something major happens, we're probably gonna have a lot of resources diverted to high-rise buildings and major areas of damage, but you might be without water or electricity for a few days. So coming together to have supplies for yourself and an extra supply just for one neighbor next door. If everyone was able to do that, that would really take care of each other and allow your community, your immediate community, to be prepared for disasters. But just on a general thing of getting together on a regular basis, it just lets you know who are the neighbors in your neighborhood, who are the people that you see every day. And if you can form different communities, whether it's on an app or through email or handing out phone numbers, just something to bring communities together, just very small communities. If everyone in San Francisco did that, it'd be amazing change. So I'm always excited to. Oh, yeah. I'm always excited to see these things occur and just want to throw that out there for whoever may be watching or here in attendance, that putting together just a simple block party is a very useful thing, because you are going to be each other's true first responders. If something happens, it's most likely that somebody is going to have to make that call for the police to know about it, which makes each other what I consider the real first responders of this all. We will come after we're notified. It's very rare that we just happen to be right there when the thing happens. So getting to know each other, realizing you're each other's first responder, you can always call for your neighbor. And that's something I just want to put out there to encourage communities.
So I will say, hi, Hossam. One of the things that I think is really different, Ocean Avenue to say West Portal, is traffic.
Yeah.
I think that people on Ocean Avenue, despite us having lowered the speed limit to 20, still go way too fast. And they engaged in illegal behavior, like turning mid-block to doing U-turn. Sabine has talked to me about this several times. So we are expected to do a bunch of stuff on Ocean Avenue. I mean, you've seen the platforms, but also one of the things that the committee prioritized was that crossing between the Ingleside Church and Granada, because that is so dangerous. So I do think that that's a big part of how it feels to be on the street and people going so fast. There's a reason why we didn't see more parklets at restaurants here, but we did on West Portal, because Miles had one in front of Ocean Avenue, and there was one in front of JoJo's, but it just felt like it was like you're on a freeway almost, right? And so I think that's a big part of what we need to do, and so maybe some of it will be trial and error. I know that Jeff and Sabine think about it a lot, and I'd be happy to work with you guys on it, but, part of having, we put those, chairs and planters, in front of Mary's Bakery and stuff, and it does help, I think, when you have a place to be on the sidewalk and sit, but I think we need more. And I've talked to Commander Jones about, doing more enforcement, but I think we need more physical things that help.
And then definitely, what would help is a sign, how fast we're, and we would like to see the chicken. The chicken.
The chicken. I really like that.
Yes.
Yes.
I wish I would have thought of that when I was in traffic.
We could find that really quick.